A new chapter in the annals of history is about to be written on a launch pad. Starship, a marvel of modern engineering, is just minutes to a mega launch. This is not just a launch, not just another Starship, nor will this be just another trip to space. The stakes are high. What we are privileged to witness today is a symbol of man's collective desire to reach for the stars. It is a story of dreams, perseverance, utter disappointment, and the relentless pursuit of the impossible. All these summed up into one big, sleek silver rocket standing tall against the cerulean sky. This is a moment not to be missed, and you can be sure that the next few minutes will be filled with nail-biting moments and many surprises that will have everyone at the edge of their seats. There is something unique about this launch. We're talking innovations, upgrades, and jaw-dropping surprises, because it's a whole new ballgame. So let's talk about the star of the show, Starship itself. But let's take you back a little bit, how it all began. Such a moment is the best time to reflect on the major strides that SpaceX has made to reach such a special day as this. It is not every day that we have colossal rockets launched into space, and it's also not every day that we have private space companies reach such lofty heights deep into space. Cape Canaveral has become the spaceport for previous other space launches, both successful and unsuccessful flights. Falcon 1 opened the door for SpaceX into the space race when it successfully launched in September 2008. This was after 3 consecutive launch fails that sucked SpaceX finances almost dry. Soon, the Falcon 9 rose to take the place of Falcon 1, proving itself a reliable workhorse as opposed to its predecessor. This one drew the attention of other rocket companies, including the ISS, because of its incredible capabilities. Before Falcon 9, the space industry only managed to carry just a little payload. The number of crew that mostly went to space and back was 4, and the number never went beyond 20. But the Falcon 9 stretched the boundaries by carrying numerous payloads into orbit, including satellites, cargo for the International Space Station, and even astronauts. This was spacecraft SpaceX, the Dragon. Privately made by SpaceX and successfully recovered from orbit, this was the dawn of commercial spacecraft, proving that commercial space companies will play a significant role in the space race. By 2012, ISS was more than convinced that SpaceX would make a better partner. CRS-1 made its debut, the first official commercial resupply services, thus its name. The task was previously handled by government space agencies, but SpaceX was proving everyone wrong. Commercial space companies could do a better job. But here's where the entire world was held in awe. The Falcon Heavy maiden flight. It was the media sensation at the time, featuring Elon Musk's Tesla as a payload for the space giant. Falcon Heavy was the most powerful operational rocket in the world at its launch. One of the standout features of Falcon Heavy was its reusability. None before had ever achieved this level of reusability and high levels of power simultaneously. We are talking about 27 Merlin engines across 3 boosters that was capable of releasing a whooping 5 million pounds of thrust at liftoff. Its visually stunning booster was also a sensation that made landings a highly engaging event and ended up raising serious public interest in space exploration. However, you will agree that the most exciting launches have involved the Starship rockets. The space behemoth is a spectacular sight to behold, whether it launches into space or explodes on the launch pad. SpaceX has had a handful of dramatic explosions in their major rocket launches. Launches that looked exciting as this one. Back in 2020, a crowd of excited onlookers gathered from every corner of the world to witness the launch of SpaceX's first few prototypes, affectionately dubbed Starhopper, SN1, and SN3. They were the first of their kind to start SpaceX's dream of making the impossible possible. But like toddlers learning to walk, they hopped a few meters off the ground before they wobbled and tumbled and crumbled under pressure during tanking tests. The SN4 made its mark at its time as the longest-lived, most tested Starship engine. It was a child of promise until it met its drastic end. During a routine engine test, it exploded, sending a massive fireball skyward. Yet this is the failure that turned things to the right direction. Its dramatic ending funded valuable data to engineers who now got an idea of what was supposed to be tweaked to give a better design, which later significantly improved the SN8 design. SN8 was the game changer. This was the first Starship ever to attempt a high-altitude flight test, achieving a height of 12.5 kilometers. Comparing it with its precursors, it hopped a significant height from the ground. Everything was perfect until the landing. The majestic rocket soared into the sky, performed a complex belly flop to control its descent, but landed too hard, exploding into a blaze of glory. SN9 was followed closely in the footsteps of SN8, but it ended up crashing on the landing. SN10 brought a different twist. It managed to land for some time only to explode due to methane leak, making it a case of so close, yet so far. But the best was yet to come. SN15 made a mighty leap when it performed a high-altitude flight, managed the belly flop, and landed softly, marking the first Starship to complete a test flight without an explosion. Something about rocket explosion. They are a terrible loss of millions of dollars, many hours put into work, but also a spectacular sight of a fiery blaze that is both captivating and humbling. The debris left on the field are a souvenir for future generations for scientists, dreamers, and engineers, indicating that the path to success is not always easy, but worth it, like the Starship we now see today. It is also exciting how Elon Musk handles his rocket's explosion. His sense of humor when you expect high levels of emotions is something to reckon. At one time, he called an explosion an unscheduled disassembly, and another time he said, "Starship gave us a rather spectacular end to what was truly an incredible test." Well, we can attest even today, in this important day of SpaceX launch history, that anything the Starship gives, a launch or an explosion, is something worth watching. What is not obvious at the sight of the huge Starship rocket is its very humble beginnings. At the very onset, everyone held SpaceX's dream of a mega rocket at arm's length. The size, the splendor, and the idea of rocket reusability for such a size was never before achieved. At the time, the largest rocket available was just a little above half the size of the proposed dream. Critics and expert opinion did a lot to discourage the dawn of this big dream. The ones who at least had a good opinion could not deny the fact that it was going to be a tough task. Casey Dreyer, chief policy advocate for the Planetary Society, for instance, mentioned that the vast scale of Starship is hard to express in words. Rockets are already complex, but having a rocket as big as Starship would bring new problems and make the whole process almost impossible. But SpaceX dreams big dreams, and they want the whole world to also dream big and soar to the stars. Only for SpaceX, the beginning of its dreams were but a few hops from the ground and dramatic blast, nothing near the stars. The past launch failures are a stark contrast to the Starship standing at Canaveral just a few minutes to its launch today. We have something bigger, better, and promising a brighter future in space exploration. What we are seeing today is possible because of the push of SpaceX's founder, Elon Musk. The self-made entrepreneur got himself into the space industry without any aerospace degree, but just a vision and a strong resolve. What awaited him in the space industry would make many cower and throw away their visions into the trash. A development cost of over $100 billion awaited one who had not even become a billionaire by then. Technical challenges heaped in another pile. Behind his trail for Virgin Relations. Timing and scheduling a launch of rockets he believed was going to change the space industry. And yes, right at the end of the road, his competitors were not just about to back out. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Blue Origin, and Branson of the Virgin Group were already established in the industry. to remind Elon Musk about the risk taking in having such an ambitious dream. Their opinions became a reality as this too far-fetched dream exploded in numerous tests, providing more SpaceX. Musk's mistake was dreaming big, dreaming of a city in Mars, dreaming of uninterrupted connectivity. The dream was assured despite the impossibilities, the many failures. Today, SpaceX is known for very humongous rockets that bring to shame the rocket counterparts. Starship rockets especially take the lead in giving SpaceX a facelift, thanks to the rocket's height, which is taller than the Statue of Liberty. That's almost equivalent to a 40-story building. This is a stark difference to the SLS, the second largest rocket, which looks more like a fraction of the SpaceX Starship. The almost launched Starship rocket differentiates itself from all previous launches, setting a literally groundbreaking style to fly out of space. The upgrades are better than you can imagine, beginning with the first and most important part of the rocket, the engines. The new Starship is bigger and badder. Well, not only in the outward height sense, as you can see, but also in a powerful technical way. Starship is packed with a terrific powerhouse thanks to its new set of Raptor engines. They are to the previous already powerful engines. It's also a super powerful rocket. Starship's 33 powerful Raptor engines have 7,590 metric tons of total thrust. It's an incredible 6.7 pounds of thrust at sea level. This can only be like a jet engine onto a sports car and hit a highway. Only this highway leads to the stars. What does this mean for the record in SpaceX history? It means that Starship gains more thrust. It will be the first in history to carry more payloads. And not to forget that this is another area that SpaceX has been able to stretch their boundaries. This rocket has the ability to carry over 100 tons of cargo on low Earth orbit. It is made with versatility in mind. The immense capacity to support a wide range of mission will be a game changer, making a stride closer to full reusability. It goes without saying that Starship is much better than any space company around the world. But it gets even better from here. Bigger thrust means bigger payloads and missions deeper into space, thus pushing boundaries far deep into the vast unknown. SpaceX's dream to get to Mars is getting closer by each launch as the space company is achieving feats. For us who are witnessing this spectacular sight today, these powerful engines will not disappoint to offer a well-deserved experience. As those large engines ignite to create a more intense flame and thrust, we will witness a mesmerizing display of power. Expect wild flames to shoot out of the rocket's base, more than you have witnessed before. The sky will have a brighter glow, akin to a bonfire taking off into the stars. This testament of human ingenuity will pull out a literal groundbreaking show before leaving off a trail of exhaust and vapor in its wake. So, be prepared for a sensory experience that will capture your imagination, reminding us of the incredible power needed to break Earth's gravity. Away from gravity, another challenge awaits the Starship: stress. One of the most fundamental parts for any spacecraft is re-entry. When a rocket plunges back to the Earth's atmosphere, one thing awaits it: heat greater than 1,500 degrees Celsius, which is hotter than lava. Even common steel cannot withstand these levels without becoming molten metal. SpaceX has been for the longest time aiming for reusable rockets, such that a rocket can launch, land, and relaunch with very minimal maintenance. As you may have noticed, this is a great challenge with hotly heated atmosphere, except that SpaceX had a better way of approaching the matter. Their game changer, thermal protection systems and serious upgrades that ensure the spacecraft doesn't turn into molten metal. These heat shields have been rigorously tested to withstand the fiery re-entry. A lot of work has also gone into ensuring that the rocket is able to withstand the extreme forces of launch and space travel. We can be even more confident with this design. The latest Starship to be launched had a lot missing as far as heat shield tiles were concerned. To top that up, there was another problem with the flaps. If you are familiar with rockets and the work that goes in to ensure its success, nothing should be short of perfect. However, the previous flight proved that not all things need to be perfect. The rocket launched with missing heat tiles, which could have meant a fried rocket, and with the problematic flap. Guess what? The mission was equally successful. This tells us so much about the integrity of the ship and the things SpaceX don't have to be worried about to achieve a soft landing. The flight revealed pleasant capabilities the rocket company was previously oblivious to. Launching a rocket and punching into the Earth's atmosphere requires a spacecraft tougher than diamond. The immense pressure and bone-rattling vibrations involved during the whole process can reduce a whole year's work into one heap of debris. Except that with Starship, that might not happen. SpaceX ensured to give this new baby a tougher body that will withstand longer durations of pressure in and out of space. This work went as far as making simulated missions that replicate the journey from Earth to space and back. These rehearsals allowed for the engineers to check the loopholes and fix potential issues, making Starship a galactic showdown. The complex process of making Starship withstand extreme pressures and stress revolves around one chief principle of rocket reusability. It is one of the things that sounded ridiculous over a decade ago, but things have changed, and they are about to become more fun involved, as you will get to hear about this. The Starship launch isn't just a test flight. It is going to be a star-studded space mission. The crew will not only be top-notch astronauts, but a team of space enthusiasts ready for one of the most exciting space travels in history. Sometimes all this space travel needed was some fun-loving explorers who can catch interesting footages while the astronauts deal with the science and other geeky stuff they like to do. You can expect to see interesting perspectives that these whole interesting crew will send back to Earth. Plus, SpaceX is also planning to bring real-time updates of Starship's journey. We will have live feeds of the behind the scenes from countdown to launch, all at the comfort of your couch. What is not always obvious to us onlookers is the futuristic interior that the flight crew normally enjoy. Our mental image of what a rocket interior looks like is mostly based on the cramped capsules like Apollo's. They offered very little comfort and space. Modern-day capsules like Orion are no different. They've got style but fall short in providing ample space. However, the Starship is a little different. It was designed with the futuristic plan of shutting people to Mars for 6 months. No one wants to spend half a year confined in a box, even if the box is quite spacious. Having looked at what Starship is like in the exterior, we can expect something better inside. The spaceship has at least 6 levels, but they could be more. The lower levels deal more with the cargo, control room, and essential supplies. Right at the middle of the levels are washrooms and bathrooms. Well, they are not for taking real showers, but wet towel baths for astronauts. Dirt doesn't smell fairer even out of space. The higher levels aims for more comfort and fun, including having a workout room, of course. Having weights inside a spacecraft is out of the question. There's no gravity. However, you can expect interesting workouts that will add to the adventure. Simply put, those on board will be having the most fun. It reminds us of other exciting goals that SpaceX has for the entire space industry by 2050. SpaceX is fast pacing towards the moon. Soon they will be out where no film director can reach. However, they are planning to bring fun to the dark space by hosting a movie. A few years ago, SpaceX was reportedly planning to shoot an entire feature-length action movie in space, teaming up with Hollywood actor Tom Cruise. The program allegedly involves NASA, but currently has no studio attached. But Elon Musk at least showed a great level of interest. He explained on a tweet sometime back that he is thinking of having a concerto held in Starship's pressurized cargo area. SpaceX released a concept art for the Concerto, which will be quite different. A concerto on zero gravity. Commenting on the concept art, he tweeted, "There will be a common area in the forward section with a big window like this. It will be a lot heavier than steel, but not dangerous. Consider astronauts on the moon with a very thin windowed helmet. They were fine." Previous space missions have solely focused on safety, life support, and successful landing. However, entertainment is bound to take a secondary role as SpaceX takes another odd focus into entertainment. For now, space travel is not just about a destination without a little bit of fun in between. Traveling to space doesn't have to be all serious and scientific. This mission is a precursor to many in the future, as the crew will be experimenting on zero-gravity games and other fun activities like trying to taste pizza in space. It will also include some few zero-G dance moves and a little basketball, perhaps. But you get it, it's going to be fun. When it comes to having fun without the interference of gravity, the field is not sufficiently tapped, unlike what we are used to. Like expecting a ball to reach the other side of the field, things just halt midway and never land on the ground. The idea of swimming in the air is also not such a bad idea. Spicing it up with a little creativity makes space travel a fun trip. Along with the crew will be some space hitchhikers, whose stop is at the Earth's low orbit. The array of satellites carried in Starship are part of the Starlink's plan to ensure proper internet connectivity around the world and beyond. Starlink connectivity plans to reach even the most remote areas of the world, including the arid Sahara Desert and the lush Amazon forest, with not just a weak connectivity, but astounding internet speeds. This launch isn't just a step in the right direction. It's a giant leap towards making that dream a reality. A successful trip to space can never be complete without the perfect spacesuit. But what do we know about spacesuits? They are bulky. At least that is what NASA sold out to the public for the longest time. Even the new next-generation spacesuit they unveiled several months ago still looks pure and simple, designed for survival. Thankfully, SpaceX took things up a notch, high with their sleek, modern-looking spacesuits that's nothing similar to the spacesuits we've seen before. We understand that SpaceX's mission is to revolutionize space travel in every possible way. Sometimes they take it too seriously and come with mind-blowing outcomes. The spacesuits are a departure from the cumbersome designs of the past. The black and white color scheme and a twist of sophistication on the helmets look downright futuristic. But these suits are not just about looking good. They are very practical. What is so special about these strikingly good-looking suits? The slim profile makes it easier to move around, whether it is inside the rocket itself or outside for a spacewalk. Still, they provide the same pressurized environment needed, just like the old heavy spacesuits, and even better. As for the helmets, have been equipped with high-quality microphones that ensure communication continues as normal in and out of space. Comfort is what every astronaut would need right out of the Earth's atmosphere. It is not easy to travel in a buggy suit for a month straight. That is why SpaceX ensured that each astronaut has a custom-fitted design, making it easier to put on and take off. The suit also has pretty modernized gloves. The gloves are designed to work on touchscreens, a must-have design given the advanced Starship rocket. Overall, the suits perform flawlessly, while at the same time looking so cool. It begs the question, who is the mastermind behind the design? Hollywood costume designer Jose Fernandez. He is the same person who designed suits for Batman, Wonder Woman, and the X-Men. No wonder the SpaceX suits resembles costumes right out of a blockbuster. If you care about the environment, you will love that Starship's ambition to get deeper into space doesn't diminish their efforts towards sustainability. It is a fact that space travels do so much harm to the environment. The rocket fumes, debris, the chemical processes, and the amount of energy necessary to make a launch successful cannot be overlooked. SpaceX has had quite a handful of spats with environmentalists because of Starship launches. Boca Chica, Texas is a quiet little spot right next to the Mexican border. It is a haven for a few laid-back residents, wildlife, and, of course, SpaceX's massive launch site. The peace of its comely neighborhood was suddenly disrupted a few months ago when a Starship prototype test ended with a bang. For a rocket launch, when things go boom, they really go boom. It was not only the normal expected case of serious vibrations, but a whole new human-made sandstorm, as Elon Musk put it. No one was happy about the environmental impact of the launch. No one wanted another Starship launch, at least not in quick succession. There have been tensions about SpaceX and the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, approach in environmental protection. But what can you expect from a rocket launch? If you think the bang is the only thing to expect from a rocket launch, think again. There's a great impact that one simple rocket launch leaves. Methane gas, that is part of the rocket fuel, is not toxic. It is gas found in nature and is widely used in transport and electricity generation. The unfortunate bit is when burned, it converts to water vapor and the gas we currently have in excess, carbon dioxide. According to an assistant professor in environmental management at Glasgow Caledonian University, Scotland, one Starship launch produces 76,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide, a measure equivalent to combining 3 different types of greenhouse gases in one unit. It gets worse from here. Carbon dioxide is not only Starship's contribution to global warming, water vapor is equally a potential greenhouse gas. Outer layers of the Earth's surface contain little of it, and much concern remains as to the effect of adding more. The issue faced here is not just caused by one Starship. Its sheer size already leaves more than a drop in the ocean. Then there's the frequency of launches, which adds to the already pathetic environmental situation. But you realize that SpaceX is not the only rocket company existing. Currently, the carbon footprint contributed by aviation makes up about 2.5% of overall greenhouse emissions. Seemingly negligible, huh? What no one is telling you is rate at which rocket launches has steeply risen in recent years. In 2023 alone, we had a groundbreaking 223 attempted space flights worldwide, in contrast to 86 launches in 2016. The advances in space technology indicate that this is just the beginning. It is bound to grow exponentially. Should rocket launches stop? Will that be the best thing to do? Perhaps not. Yet, efforts must be made to curb the situation. SpaceX is making strides to ensure that space travel can be as sustainable as possible. They are making it happen in a number of ways. 1. Through the powerful solar panels which it has been utilizing for the longest time now. Making a rocket like Starship requires so much electricity, and so does ensuring it has a successful launch. The solar panels have played a significant role slashing off the electricity supply demand. 2. Using a cleaner rocket fuel. This is the best thing SpaceX could do to ensure its launches are less harmful to the environment. It's an improvement from its previous flights with Falcon 9, which uses much dirtier oil-based fuel. Since the Starship is heavier and more powerful, it is a big leap to the right direction. Last and the most exciting one is how Starship is going green deep into space. The new rocket is equipped with advanced technology that is aimed at reducing space debris. Part of this is possible because the whole team aimed at using more recyclable materials and developing systems that clean up space junk. Another aspect of this launch we cannot brush off is the site of ongoing construction amidst preparing a rocket launch. Coming up with such a magnificent rocket in the middle of a serious construction, which is still ongoing, is nothing short of amazing. Starship launching has taken the limelight at the expense of the extensive work that has been taking place Wonderland. SpaceX is doing everything simultaneously. Building a serious house and a car that can fly is not an easy feat. Maybe that's why it is only achieved in SpaceX. The space company keeps true to its ambitious mission of taking humans to Mars by 2050. Before that is realized, the work to build more rockets must continue. The construction taking place in SpaceX isn't your typical construction site with a few bulldozers here and some scaffolding on the other side. We are talking about large-scale operations involving building launch pads, test pads, and alongside constructing a serious manufacturing house. Talking of a manufacturing house, SpaceX headquarters was previously more tents than buildings, but just around the launch of Starship, we are seeing that the premise has more buildings than tents. Construction continued with all the other chaos of building the world's most powerful rocket. Constructing a more permanent premise for rocket manufacture is part of a top priority for SpaceX, since they want to ensure that the rockets are secure once constructed. It is easy to overlook such efforts in the middle of such a launch, but hey, let's give credit where it's due. SpaceX has mastered the art of simultaneous sizzle, and that's a plus on their plate. Let's take a look at the main item of their simultaneous sizzle. What has SpaceX come up with this time? The shiny exterior of the rocket tells the whole narrative. It's the Space Maverick. It's important to have a rocket, but it's even better to have a good-looking rocket. Welcome to SpaceX's Starship. The shiny exterior is made up of stainless steel structure that is responsible for such a splendid sight. Most rockets, apart from the ones in SpaceX, like to use lightweight materials like aluminum alloys. But SpaceX prefers the heavy, strong, durable, and extremely tough steel, albeit heavier in weight. Their approach is simple. Steel is cheaper and can handle extreme temperatures. It gets you back to their original rocket goal of reusability. If SpaceX would ever achieve reusability, it can never be without steel. Their preference came with a bonus: aesthetic appeal that gives Starship a futuristic appearance of rockets right from science fiction movies. Working hand in hand with the stainless steel back of Starship are the heat shield tiles. It's easy to take them for some aesthetic hexagonal tiles, but their use extends beyond looks. When Starship re-enters Earth and the temperature's hotter than lava, the heat shields step up to provide the spacecraft a fireproof suit. There's been a lot of testing, tweaking, and innovating new tiles that will dissipate the intense heat generated during re-entry. This fireproof suit keeps the spacecraft intact. It's the reason the astronauts going to space are not fried to death while coming back on Earth. SpaceX is not just about making a big deal of upgraded heat shields. The thing is, they want to offer space fans a better coverage during re-entry. Curious minds like you and me like to see what it is like to re-enter an extremely heated atmosphere. You have the heat shields to thank. The Raptor engines are the real deal. Just below the rocket, you are beholding a power without which this mega space skyscraper will remain an aspiring rocket. 33 is the number of oomph givers which solely run on methane and liquid oxygen. The choice of rocket fuel is intentional. Methane is a more efficient, cleaner, which can be potentially produced in Mars if we ever set foot on the red planet and start manufacturing rocket fuel. If we ever make it to space without the Raptor engines, landing will be a dismal failure. One of the neat tricks of the Raptors is throttling down for landing. It's the high-tech ballet performed by rockets. Bigger Raptor engines also mean more robust landing leg improvements. This is another crucial area for successful landing to be realized. More robust engines adds another heavy weight to the legs. As such, adding some reinforcements to the legs could be a good idea. This time, SpaceX ensured that they are more reliable, reducing the risk of any landing mishaps. The end product is dazzling beauty, unequaled in the space race. SpaceX have done so much to ensure that its rocket is better, but they haven't forgotten lessons from their failed past. If there is a space company that has experienced a ton of setbacks, SpaceX tops the list. They don't have just a handful of failures. Their experience can be written up in a book and still demand another volume. But the philosophy of rapid iteration and learning has been the key to their progress. Behind the magnificent Starship are buckets of sweat, tears, countless hours of hard grinding work, and a fair share of disappointments. SpaceX has learned from past experience that launching a rocket comes with a 50-50 chance of failure. Things don't always go exactly as planned. You see, rockets are a lot more complex than airplanes. There's always a chance that something minuscule could go wrong. Knowing this very well, the space giants made sure they leave no chances for failure. The first thing they ensured was hiring who we like to creatively call the what-if experts. These are a group of very brilliant engineers whose jobs is to anticipate every possible failure scenario. They are responsible for running different simulations, thinking ahead of the problem before it happens. This team has heavily benefited from each failure that SpaceX has ever had. These failures are documented properly within the headquarters of the spaceport, such that they don't have to fail twice on the same issue. Secondly, SpaceX has made serious investments in smart software. If you know Elon Musk very well, you will confirm that he is an AI enthusiast who seeks to make the most out of technology. SpaceX might be a space company, but it is equally an extension of an AI company working spaceward. SpaceX has developed some very advanced software that monitor the rocket's health in real time. If something looks off, the software automatically triggers an abort sequence. Having this extra pair of eyes that never blink to the team ensures that the slightest glitch is discovered before it turns into a big problem. Thirdly, and most importantly, are the team in the boom room. The amusing name is quite a contrast to the serious work this team plays at the time of the launch. This is the team that operates in the control center, where SpaceX engineers monitor launches. They spring into action when everything goes south, and they are also the first to celebrate when a successful launch is realized. Yet these three are not the only safety measures in SpaceX's sleeve. Since failure might be inevitable during such a critical flight, a bunch of backup systems or Plan B options are set in place. The complex Plan B can be broken down into this simple principle. For every rocket component you build, have another like it within it. SpaceX builds two rockets in one. Although it is not obvious, you will see how it comes to play. A good example is the Falcon 9 rockets, which is operated by 3 flight computer setups. Each of these computers runs 2 instances of Linux on powerful dual-core CPUs. Everything comes doubled. This means if one goes down, others can keep up running the complex processes as normal. Having multiple backup systems can be tricky, especially if each component has identical roles. What naturally happens is that one system will overpower or interfere with another. This is why SpaceX uses the actor-judge system. The hardware and software can vote on the best component to use, making sure that a bad component doesn't mess things up. That being the case, even rocket engines can efficiently adjust to handle thrust despite another malfunctioning engine. What more can we say? It is a foolproof plan. The rocket is perfect. The launch pads are strong. The countdown is set, and everyone is doing what they are supposed to do. Except that anything can go sideways. We've all been there, and SpaceX is familiar with such hiccups. That is why they decided to make contingency plans to curb that. It's better to be safe than sorry. The first priority for the mission is the crew. Nothing can be equaled to the value of human life. It's the factor that motivated the invention of the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card, the escape hatch. This isn't your typical emergency exit. It is a state-of-the-art escape mechanism designed to keep astronauts safe even under extreme conditions. A sure marvel of engineering. The hull C of the Starship has a total of 5 escape pods, 4 at the front for the crew and an extra one at the back for the engineer. All the 5 pods have a visible hatch that allows them to eject outside the ship in case of an emergency. On the ground is another team of well-trained technicians who are always on standby and play a crucial role in emergency. They are the calmest, have an underrated tact, and keep a close eye on every detail of the launch. In case of an emergency, the triage and rescue team springs to action to attend to injuries and actual medical procedures. This team undergoes very intense training, which also includes simulated injuries and escape procedures for anything that could possibly go wrong. The crew undergoes an almost similar training to the Starship crew, only that theirs is more intense. Typical days around the launching of the Starship are filled with some much paranoia. If you had a well-planned schedule and some time to relax in between, all that would be thrown out of the window. Astronauts have to check and recheck if this or that works. It's almost like going through an OCD episode. All this because flying to space is a dangerous thing to do. Jonathan McDowell, a Harvard astrologist, referred to the whole idea of flying to space as, "This is dangerous." It's a far more ambitious thing to do, especially if you add spacewalking to the already complex program. No wonder astronauts, specifically those in SpaceX, have to spend 7 hours a day at a time training in the vacuum chamber to get confident in their suits. You need not be told how painfully excruciating this process is, how much hard work goes into play in SpaceX premises, all for the sake of flying Starship out of this planet. At least the level of hard work and passion should spark 100% appreciation from everyone. Unfortunately, some are not so impressed by SpaceX, or at least the Starship rocket. De Leon is not as positive about the 33-engine machine at the tail of the Starship. According to him, it is a nightmare for the plumbers, one that only reminds of the dismal failure of the old Soviet Union's 30-engine N-1 moon rocket. The old behemoth barely made a success.
We're at the very, very early stage of the intelligence Big Bang. Being a multi-planet species greatly increases the probable lifespan of civilization or consciousness or intelligence, both biological and digital. I think we're quite close to digital superintelligence. If it doesn't happen this year, next year for sure.
Please give it up for Elon Musk. Elon, welcome to AI Startup School. We're just really, really blessed to have your presence here today.
Thanks for having me.
So, from SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, XAI, and more, was there ever a moment in your life before all this where you felt, I have to build something great? And what flipped that switch for you?
Well, I didn't originally think I would build something great. I wanted to try to build something useful, but I didn't think I would build anything particularly great. If you said probabilistically, it seemed unlikely, but I wanted to at least try.
So you're talking to a room full of people who are all technical engineers, often some of the most eminent AI researchers coming up in the game.
Okay.
I
think I like the term engineer better than researcher. I mean, I suppose if there's some fundamental algorithmic breakthrough, it's research, but otherwise it's engineering.
Maybe let's start way back. I mean, when you were, this is a room full of 18 to 25-year-olds. It skews younger because the founder set is younger and younger. Can you put yourself back into their shoes when you were 18, 19, learning to code, even coming up with a first idea for Zip2? What was that like for you?
Yeah, back in '95, I was faced with a choice of either do grad studies, PhD at Stanford, in material science, actually working on ultracapacitors for potential use in electric vehicles, essentially trying to solve the range problem for electric vehicles, or try to do something in this thing that most people had never heard of called the internet. And I talked to my professor, who was Bill Nix, in the material science department, and said, like, can I defer for the quarter because this will probably fail, and then I'll need to come back to college. And then he said, this is probably the last conversation we'll have, and he was right. But I thought things would most likely fail, not that they would most likely succeed. And then in '95, I wrote basically, I think the first or close to the first maps, directions, internet, white pages and yellow pages on the internet. I just wrote that personally, and didn't even use a web server. I just read the port directly because I couldn't afford, and I couldn't afford a T1. The original office was on Sherman Avenue in Palo Alto. There was like an ISP on the floor below, so I drilled a hole through the floor and just ran a LAN cable directly to the ISP. Um, and my brother joined me and another co-founder, Greg Curry, who passed away, and we at the time we couldn't even afford a place to stay, so we just the office was $500 a month, so we just slept in the office and then showered at the YMCA on Page Mill and El Camino. And yeah, and I guess we ended up doing a little bit of a useful company, Zip2 in the beginning, and we did build a lot of really good software technology, but we're somewhat captured by the legacy media companies, and that Knight Ridder, New York Times, and the Hearst, whatnot, were investors and customers, and also on the board. So they kept wanting to use our software in ways that made no sense. So I wanted to go direct to consumers. Anyway, it's a long story, dwelling too much on Zip2, but I really just wanted to do something useful on the internet. Because I had like two choices, like do a PhD and watch people build the internet, or help build the internet in some small way. And I was like, well, I guess I can always try and fail and then go back to grad studies. Um, and anyway, that ended up being like reasonably successful. It sold for like $300 million, which was a lot at the time. These days, that's like, I think minimum impulse bid for an AI startup is like $1 billion. It's like there's so many friggin' unicorns. It's like a herd of unicorns at this point. You know, unicorn's $1 billion situation.
There's been inflation since, so quite a
Yeah,
bit
there has
more
been
money
inflation.
actually.
Yeah, I mean, like 9.95, you could probably buy a burger for a nickel. Well, not quite, but I mean, yeah, there has been a lot of inflation. Um, but I mean, the hype level on AI is pretty intense, as you've seen. You know, you see companies that are, I don't know, less than a year old getting sometimes billion-dollar or multi-billion-dollar valuations, um, which I guess could pan out and probably will pan out in some cases. But it is eye-watering to see some of these valuations. Yeah, what do you think?
I mean, well, I'm pretty bullish personally.
Yeah, what can you
I'm
say
pretty
about that?
bullish, honestly. So I think the
Sure,
people in this room are going to create a lot of the value that, you know, a billion people in the world should be using this stuff, and
sure.
we're scratching the surface of it. I love the internet story in that even back then, you know, you are a lot like the people in this room back then, in that, you know, the heads of all the CEOs of all the legacy media companies look to you
Yeah,
as the person who understood the internet. And a lot of the world, you know, the corporate world, like the world at large that does not understand what's happening with AI, they're going to look to the people in this room for exactly that. It sounds like, well, you know, what are some of the tangible lessons? It sounds like one of them is don't give up board control, or be careful about, have a
well,
really good lawyer.
uh, I guess with my first startup, the big really the mistake was having too much shareholder and board control from legacy media companies, who then necessarily see things through the lens of legacy media, and that they'll kind of make you do things that seem sensible to them, but aren't really don't make sense with the new technology. I know I should point out that I didn't actually at first intend to start a company. I tried to get a job at Netscape. I sent my resume into Netscape, and Mark Andreessen knows about this. And but I don't think he ever saw my resume, and then nobody responded. So and then I tried hanging out in the lobby of Netscape to see if I could like bump into someone, but I was like too shy to talk to anyone. So I'm like, man, this is ridiculous. So I'll just write software myself and see how it goes. So it wasn't actually from the standpoint of like I want to start a company. I just want to be part of building, you know, the internet in some way. And since I couldn't get a job at an internet company, I had to start an internet company. Anyway, the yeah, I mean, from an AI will so profoundly change the future. It's difficult to fathom how much, but the economy, assuming things don't go awry, and like AI doesn't kill us or will end itself, then you'll see ultimately an economy that is not 10 times more than the current economy. Ultimately, like if we become, say, or whatever our future machine descendants, but mostly machine descendants, become like a Kardashev scale 2 civilization or beyond, we're talking about an economy that is thousands of times, maybe millions of times bigger than the economy today. So yeah, I mean, I did sort of feel a bit like, when I was in DC taking a lot of flack for like getting rid of waste and fraud, which was an interesting side quest, as side quests go. But
Got to get
but
back to the main quest.
yeah, I got to get back to the main quest here. So back to the main quest. But I did feel, a little bit like there's, it's like fixing the government is kind of like there's like, say, the beach is dirty and there's like some needles and feces and like trash and you want to clean up the beach. But then there's also this like 1,000-foot wall of water, which is a tsunami of AI. Like, and how much does cleaning the beach really matter if you got a 1,000-foot tsunami about to hit? Not that much.
Oh,
So
we're
that's
glad you're
AI.
back on the main quest. It's very important.
Yeah, back to the main quest. Building technology, which is what I like doing. Um, it's just so much noise. Like the signal to noise ratio in politics is terrible. So, um,
I mean, I live in
whereas,
San Francisco, so you don't need to tell me twice.
yeah, DC is like, kind of, I guess it's all politics in DC, but um, the if you're trying to build a rocket or cars, or you're trying to have software that compiles and runs reliably, then you have to be maximally truth-seeking, or your software or your hardware won't work. Um, like you can't fool math. Like math and physics are rigorous judges. So I'm used to being in like a maximally truth-seeking environment, and that's definitely not politics. Um, so anyway, I'm glad to be back in technology.
I guess I'm kind of curious, going back to the Zip2 moment, you had hundreds of millions of dollars, or you had an exit of worth hundreds of millions of
Yeah, I mean,
dollars.
I got $20 million
Right.
before
Okay, so
tax.
you solved the money problem at least. Um, and you basically took it and you kept rolling with X.com, which
Yeah.
became PayPal and Confinity.
Yes. I kept the chips on the table.
Yeah.
So
Not everyone does that. A lot of the people in this room will have to
yeah.
make that decision, actually. What drove you to jump back into the ring?
Well, I think I felt with Zip2, we built like incredible technology, but it never really got used. Um, I think, at least from my perspective, we had better technology than, say, Yahoo or anyone else, but it was constrained by our customers. Um, and so I wanted to do something where, okay, we wouldn't be constrained by our customers, go direct to consumer. And that's what ended up being like X.com, PayPal, essentially X.com merging with Confinity, which together created PayPal, and then that actually the sort of PayPal diaspora has it might have created more companies than more companies than probably anything in the 21st century. So many talented people were at the combination of Confinity and X.com. Um, so I just wanted to, like, I felt like we kind of got our wings clipped somewhat with Zip2, and it's like, okay, what if our wings aren't clipped and we go direct to consumer? And that's what PayPal ended up being. But yeah, with I got that like $20 million check for my share of Zip2. At the time, I was living in a house with 4 housemates, um, and had like, I don't know, 10 grand in the bank, and then the this check arrives in the mail, of all places, and it's in the mail, and then my bank balance went from 10,000 to 20 million and 10,000. You're like, well, okay, still have to pay taxes on that and all, but then I ended up putting almost all of that into X.com, and as you said, like just kind of keeping almost all the chips on the table. And yeah, and then after PayPal, I was like, well, I was kind of curious as to why we had not sent anyone to Mars. And I went on the NASA website to find out when we're sending people to Mars, and there was no date. I thought maybe it was just hard to find on the website, but in fact, there was no real plan to send people to Mars. So then, this is such a long story, so I don't want to take up too much time here, but
I think we're all listening with rapt attention.
so I was actually I was on the Long Island Expressway with my friend Deo Resi. We're like housemates in college, and Deo was asking me what we're gonna do. What am I gonna do after PayPal? And I was like, it's like, I don't know. I guess maybe I'd like to do something philanthropic in space, because I didn't think I could actually do anything commercial in space, because that seemed like the purview of nations. So, but I'm kind of curious as to when we're going to send people to Mars, and that's when I was like, oh, it's not on the website. And then I started digging on, not there's nothing on the NASA website. So then I started digging in, and I'm definitely summarizing a lot here, but um, I my first idea was to do a philanthropic mission to Mars called Life to Mars, where it would send a small greenhouse with seeds and dehydrated nutrient gel, land that on Mars and grow, hydrate the gel, and then you'd have this great sort of money shot